If you're running an e-commerce brand and you feel like you've hit a plateau, like no matter how much you spend on ads or how many creatives you test, you just can't seem to break through to the next level, this video might change how you think about growth. I'm Anurag and I run Pixel Penguin Media. We help e-commerce brands scale through paid ads on Meta and Google. We've been doing this for 8 years and our campaigns are currently doing over 200 million in annual revenue for our clients. And we also run our own e-commerce brands, so I've been on both sides of this, as an agency and as a brand owner. And here's what I've learned. Most e-commerce brands are stuck because they're measuring success the wrong way. They're looking at ROAS, return on ad spend, and they think that's the number that matters most. But once you get past a certain point, ROAS actually starts working against you. It keeps you scared to spend more. It keeps you from scaling. So let's talk about what actually matters once you're doing more than $50,000 per month. Let's start with a simple example. Say you're spending $2,000 a month on ads and you're getting a 10x ROAS. So you're generating $20,000 in revenue. That feels amazing. But now imagine you scale to $30,000 in ad spend and your ROAS drops to 4x. Most founders panic at this point. They think something is wrong. But 4x on $30,000 is $120,000 in revenue. So the real question is, which business would you rather own? The 20K one with pretty ROAS or the 120K one with worse efficiency? This is a trap. ROAS is just a ratio. It doesn't tell you how much you can afford to acquire a new customer, whether those customers come back, whether you're profitable after real costs, or whether your growth is actually sustainable. And once you're past about $50,000 a month, if you don't understand your economics, scaling starts to feel risky. This is where most brands break. Not because ads stop working, because the math underneath the business isn't clear. Here's a client of ours in July 2025. Before they onboarded with us, they were spending $2,800 with a revenue of $27,000 and nearly 10x ROAS. Compared to the last 30 days, after nearly 7 months of us running their campaigns, where we spent $51,000 in ad spend in the last 30 days and generated $335,000 with a ROAS of 6.4. There's another problem with ROAS obsession. It quietly starts shaping your decisions in really bad ways. You stop testing new audience because ROAS might be lower at first. You overinvest in retargeting because it always looks amazing. And you stop investing in new customer acquisition because the ROAS is lower there. You hesitate to launch new products. You avoid testing new creatives. You become overly conservative. And before you realize it, you're optimizing for a metric that's actually preventing you from growing. If you want long-term growth, not just occasional revenue spikes, you have to start thinking in terms of unit economics and customer value. There are a few core metrics every scaling brand needs to understand. Number one, contribution margin. This is your real capacity to scale. Revenue by itself means nothing if you don't know what's left after costs. At a minimum, you should know your revenue minus COGS, minus shipping, minus payment processing. What's left is your contribution margin. Let's say your AOV is $100 and your contribution margin is 60%. That means you have $60 left after variable costs. And that $60 determines how much room you have to acquire a new customer. If you don't know this number, increasing ad spend is basically gambling. Now, if you're watching this and you're not sure what your real break-even CPA is, or whether your numbers actually support scaling, we can help you figure that out. We do audits for e-commerce brands where we break down not just your campaigns, but your unit economics. We'll show you where you can afford to spend, where you're leaking profit, and whether you're actually ready to scale. So if you want us to take a look, links in the description, book a call and we'll go through your numbers together. Number two is your break-even CPA. This is one of the most important numbers in your entire business. Once you know your contribution margin, you can calculate your break-even CPA. Here's an example. Let's say your AOV is $100, your contribution margin is 60%, and your average purchases per customer in a short-term window is 1.3. Now your break-even CPA would be $100 into 60% into 1.3. That equals $78. That means you can spend up to $78 to acquire a customer and break even. Now you're not asking is 3x ROAS good? You're asking is our CPA below $78? That's a completely different mindset. Number three is your customer lifetime value. Keep this simple. You don't need 10 different LTV dashboards. You just need two numbers. Short-term LTV, something like a 60-day value, and true lifetime LTV. Short-term LTV tells you whether you can safely scale right now. True lifetime LTV tells you how valuable that customer is over the long run. If your short-term LTV already covers your CPA, you're in a very strong position. And if your true lifetime LTV is 2 to 3x the first purchase value, you can afford to be far more aggressive than your competitors, but only if you actually know those numbers. Number 4 is new customer CPA. Not blended CPA, new customer CPA. This is critical. Blended ROAS hides problems. Returning customers inflate your numbers, but growth only comes from new customers. You need to know your cost per new customer. What percentage of revenue comes from new versus returning customers, and whether new customer acquisition is actually profitable. If you can't profitably acquire new customers, you don't have scalable growth. You have your retention that's covering your inefficiencies. Here's an example of a client of ours. We started with them in February 2025 from absolute scratch, and you can see in the first month we scaled them to nearly $150,000. And obviously this is all from new customers because this is a brand new product. But we did start pushing 3-month subscription packs from the get-go. And in the second month, again, all from new customers, we scaled them to $822,000. In the third month, we scaled them to nearly $1.7 million. Again, 97% of the sales coming from new customers. The fourth month is where, we started seeing returning customer rate picking up, because that's where the 3-month subscription packs started renewing. Number 5 is your marketing efficiency ratio. MER is a macro level metric. It's simply total revenue divided by total ad spend. So if you're doing 200K in revenue and 50K in ad spend, your MER is 4. This tells you how your entire marketing system is performing across platforms. Meta, Google, email, everything. ROAS tells you what one campaign did. MER tells you how your bank account actually feels. Number 6 is your average order value. AOV is one of the most underrated scaling levers, because increasing AOV increases your lovable CPA. If your AOV goes from $80 to $100, your contribution margin pool increases, which means you can afford to pay more to acquire a customer. This is why things like bundles, upsells, post-purchase offers, volume discounts are not just conversion tactics, they're scaling levers. Sometimes the fastest way to scale ads is simply increasing AOV. Number 7, retention and repeat purchase rate. Finally, retention. You should know what percentage of customers buy again, how quickly they buy again, and revenue per cohort. Retention determines how aggressive you can be with acquisition. If customers reliably come back, you can tolerate higher CPAs. If they don't, your scaling ceiling is much lower. Now here's the important part. You don't need all of these metrics inside your Meta or Google dashboards. You just need to track it systematically and review it consistently. Think of this as a business level decision framework. Here's how to use it. Step 1, build a simple weekly growth dashboard. Every week you should review your total revenue, total ad spend, your MER, your new customer CPA, contribution margin, short-term LTV, AOV, and your retention. This can live on a spreadsheet, your Shopify reports, or a simple dashboard. The tool doesn't really matter, your consistency does. Step 2, compare CPA to breakeven. This becomes a green light for scaling. If your breakeven CPA is $78 and your current new customer CPA is $65, you can scale. If CPA creeps above breakeven, you pause. You improve creative, you increase AOV, you fix funnel issues. Scaling decisions become math-driven and not emotional. Step 3, use LTV to decide aggression level. If short-term LTV already covers acquisition cost, you can scale confident. If your true lifetime LTV is significantly higher than first purchase value, you can even tolerate a small front-end loss to capture market share. This is how large brands think. Not in daily ROAS swings, but in capital allocation over customer value. An example of a client where their AOV is $110, but their customer lifetime value is actually $344, which is 3.4x times higher than AOV. So this is an example of a client where we had the room to take front-end losses while actually scaling up their revenue, relying on their customer lifetime value. Step 4, improve the levers that raise your ceiling. If scaling stalls, ask, Can we increase AOV? Can we improve retention? Can we improve contribution margin? Can we lower CPA with better creative? Every one of these increases your allowable acquisition cost, which increases your scaling ceiling. Now, ads aren't just traffic, they're an investment engine. So what actually changes once you're past $50,000 per month? Your creative becomes your biggest lever. Tracking accuracy becomes critical. LTV becomes your competitive advantage. And scaling mistakes become expensive. The brands that win know their break-even CPA precisely. They track new customer economics weekly. They monitor MER for macro health. They improve AOV and retention consistently. And they make scaling decisions based on math. They don't just ask what's our ROAS today. They ask how much can we afford to pay for a customer based on their value. That single question changes everything. So here's the shift. Stop chasing ROAS. Start mastering contribution margin, your break-even CPA, your short-term and lifetime LTV, your new customer CPA, your MER, your AOV, and your retention rates. Because once you understand your economics, scaling becomes predictable. And predictable growth is what turns a $50K per month brand into a durable multi-seven-figure business. So if you want help implementing this in your business, here's what we do. We work with e-commerce brands doing at least $50,000 per month. Fit a Plateau. We'll audit your account, break down your unit economics, and show you exactly what's holding you back. If you want to see what that will look like for your brand, links in the description. Book a call and we'll go through your numbers together. And if you found this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. We're starting to put out videos like this regularly, breaking down what actually works in e-com advertising without the fluff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.